friend Josh and I, we have been saving up some extra money on the side so that we can book a weekend at this Airbnb that we had been looking at for well over 6 months. It was in Portland, Oregon, and it was ridiculously expensive, but we thought it would be worth every penny. After all, it was exactly what we needed. It was a perfect getaway. We could finally be away from work, away from all the unnecessary drama, away from everything, just us two best friends, in a cabin in the woods off some back roads with access to a private lake, and a whole lot of privacy, or so we thought. We traveled in my van, and man, did we bring everything we could fit. I mean it. Like, we probably would not have been able to fit another box in there if we tried. Anyways, it was a nice road trip. I love road trips, and it was only an hour and 30-ish minutes or so of a drive as well, so not too bad. When we got there, it was just heading into the afternoon, so we unpacked everything real quick and had lunch. Just a couple sandwiches and chips. We were trying to decide what we wanted to do for the day. I told Josh I was really looking forward to going out on the boat so we could cruise, and probably go fishing as well. We brought the camp chairs out and sat down for a little while outside in the small porch area that we had. We were just letting everything soak in, relaxing. It was so nice. I remember how happy and excited I was. A little while later, we grabbed our drinks, hopped into our bathing suits, brought some snacks, our fishing gear, and a few other things so we could enjoy our day out in the water. We actually both caught a bass, and we were pretty happy with that, so we decided it was time to cruise. We spent about 20 minutes maybe just speeding through the lake. We wanted to get back home soon though, so we could get ready for dinner and figure out what else we wanted to do while we still had some daylight left. Now keep in mind, the cabin we were staying in, there were no other cabins or people or anything of that nature for at least a mile radius that we knew of. So we had all the freedom to do what we wanted, as loud as we wanted. It was literally so beautiful. We were surrounded by trees and nature. It was just pure bliss. Right in front of our cabin was a long trail that led to a lake. The scenery is something out of a movie. Anyways, it was getting late. After we ate dinner, we decided to hang out by the fire for a bit. We stayed out there for a few hours, having a few beers and such. It was a long day though, so we were beat by like 11 o'clock. We both woke up really early that morning, and we had a long drive, and we had been in the sun all day. Plus I only got a few hours of sleep the night prior, so we both ventured off to bed. We were just cleaning things up real quick outside before we were heading in for the night. And that's right when I saw something. I saw a tall, shadowy figure out of the corner of my eye. What the? I thought to myself. I rubbed my eyes in hopes I could see a bit clearer, but it was gone when I opened my eyes. That was very strange, but we're in the woods, so I just played it off as it could be anything and that it probably wasn't anything harmful. I had a bad feeling though, I'm not going to lie. I didn't tell Josh about it though, because I didn't want to seem like I was scared or crazy, you know? But maybe I should have, and I wish I would have got a better look the first time, because maybe we would have been able to do something sooner, rather than be awoken to an ominous light tapping noise on the front door. Josh was out cold, but I heard it right away. At least I assumed, because I'm a light sleeper and I was very on edge. Josh, dude, wake up. He was in a dreamlike state for a moment, but he awoke fairly quickly. Dude, there's someone at our door. What? He quickly went over to the door like he was about to open it. Dude, are you kidding me? Don't open the door. What are you, nuts? I whispered. Also, guys, like I said, please understand that this was a huge red flag. We were literally a mile into the woods on private property. I explained that to him and reiterated it multiple times before he realized too that something was wrong. The knocking continued, except louder this time. Hello? The man said from behind the door. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a good look at him through the window from anywhere in the cabin because of where he was standing. He was like sort of in a blind spot. He started banging on the door profusely, no words though, but very aggressively nonetheless. Dude, get out of here, right now. Leave. I don't care what you want or who you are. Leave now. Do not make me tell you again. Josh was practically yelling at this point. This was really strange because he only kept knocking and he didn't say anything. I don't know, but that sounds like some serial killer shit to me. I didn't know at the time, but apparently Josh had a concealed weapons permit, meaning he could carry legally. He pulled it out and opened the door slowly. He didn't have his gun drawn at him yet though. We both stepped back a few steps as he opened the door. The man was standing and staring, looking directly at us. He had a black ski mask on and an all camo outfit and gloves on. He was probably like 6'4" or 6'5". The man saw that Josh had a gun and he took off running. Josh kind of followed after him a bit and yelled at him not to come back, or next time you won't be able to run away, he yelled. I kind of started having a panic attack a little. Dude, that guy was absolutely nuts. What the hell even was that? We couldn't believe that just happened. I'm not sure if he was trying to prey on someone who he thought was alone, or if he was just trying to rob us, or if he was only just trying to scare us, or who knew what he wanted. But we ended up staying the rest of our time there at the Airbnb because we already paid for it and we didn't want to let some jerk ruin it for us. We didn't think he was coming back anyways. I mean, it wouldn't be very smart of him to do so. We enjoyed the rest of our time there, a little bit more on edge than usual, but he never came back. When I was in college, I was on the wrestling team. We would usually all travel together in small groups, but I had to travel by myself this one particular time. So I ended up getting an Airbnb by myself. It wasn't my first choice, but it was either that or I wouldn't have been able to make it to my tournament. I met the host at the small one-bedroom loft that I was staying in. He was a man maybe in his late 40s, quite tall, and was balding. He showed me around and he honestly seemed quite nice. He left shortly after and I was just getting settled in. I didn't do much besides order DoorDash and watch TV, as I had a big day tomorrow, so I wanted to make sure I had enough rest. Fast forward to around 10:30 p.m. I was just getting ready for bed. I heard some strange noises outside, and then someone talking. I couldn't make out what was being said, as it was very muffled sounding. I didn't think too much of it, and I forgot about it a few minutes later. I left the room I was sleeping in for the night so I could get a drink of water and use the bathroom before I went to sleep. As I left the bathroom, I heard someone talking again, except this time they were closer. I was a little concerned, so I walked out into the living room to investigate a little further. As I made my way out there, I soon realized that the doorknob was being fiddled with. There were no other doors in the loft, so the only way out was one of the windows if I needed a quick escape, had someone broken in. I panicked. I had to make a decision quick. I went into the bedroom to try and figure out what I should do. I stayed in there for a few minutes. There was a brief silence for a moment, so I slowly crept out back into the living room to see what was going on. I peeked around the corner and saw that the door was wide open. I didn't know if that meant he was somewhere in the house or if he was coming back, but I didn't care. I really didn't want to find out. I kinda saw that as it was my time to run. I crawled out one of the back windows and hopped over a fence into this creepy, dimly lit alleyway. I found somewhere safe to call the police. When they showed up, there was no one to be found. No sign of a break-in, and the front door was closed. There was literally nothing that was stolen. No damage, anything. Nothing out of the ordinary at all. When I told the host about what happened, he wasn't acting right. He didn't seem anywhere near as concerned as he should have been. I thought that was extremely weird and a huge red flag. Especially that nobody took anything either, and that the front door was shut when the police arrived. I called my friend that let me stay with him for the night in his motel room. I had to sleep on the ground, but luckily my buddy had a sleeping bag he let me use, which was a bit better than nothing. I'm never using Airbnb again. I travel a lot, sometimes with friends and family, but often I travel alone. Some people think it's weird, but it's one of my favorite things to do. See new places, do new things, try new foods, and meet new people. You know, that sort of thing. I was visiting Miami Beach, Florida this particular time. I rented out this Airbnb nearby. It wasn't anything super fancy, and it was quite small, but it was decent inside, like I said. It was nothing out of the ordinary though. It definitely wasn't the most upkept or clean like in the pictures either, but it was alright. I'm not super picky and generally a very easygoing and understanding person. It did bother me just a bit, but I forgot about it shortly. I actually ended up doing some cleaning when I got there because I'm kind of OCD and I like things to look nice and neat. Everything was completely normal. I spent the day walking around the beach, visiting local shops and stores. I went to this Italian restaurant and I really enjoyed myself. It was a normal day, nothing out of the ordinary at all whatsoever. Before bed, I like to read usually. It helps me get relaxed, and plus I just love reading. It was just like any other night. The only difference was I was in a different area. I heard a strange beeping sound as I was dozing off. It wasn't super loud, but it was loud enough to where it alarmed me, and it slightly triggered my fight or flight mode for a brief moment upon awakening. I couldn't tell where it was coming from. It started beeping more. It was like once every 15 to 20 seconds or so. I thought it might have been the fire alarm or something, because sometimes when a fire alarm is low on batteries or something's not right with it, it will beep constantly every 20 seconds or so until it gets the attention it needs. So I went out in the living room area to find the fire alarm. I soon found out quickly that that noise most definitely wasn't the fire alarm, because I kept hearing the noise and that's not where it was coming from. I learned that it was most definitely coming from the bedroom. I was very quiet so I could listen to where it was coming from exactly. As I started getting closer, all it took was a few more beeps before I found what I would soon find to be the most uncomforting and disturbing thing that has ever happened to me. There was a teeny tiny camera lens that was poking through the wall at the top left corner of the bedroom. It must have been rigged inside of the wall somehow. I don't know, but I freaked out immediately and left the bedroom, went out into the kitchen, and I started pacing back and forth. I started getting rightfully worried that there were other cameras in the house. I searched everywhere for more. I found 3 more. One in the living room, and I'm not kidding, there were 2 more in the bathroom. One was pointed at the shower inside of it, and one was pointing outside of the shower. I felt so violated. I couldn't stand another second of being there. I called my mom, bawling my eyes out, and then my husband. They told me I needed to leave. I gathered my things and got out of there as quickly as possible. I worried that if whoever put those cameras there saw that I found out about them, that they would try to come here and hurt me or something before I could leave. I stayed at a nearby motel for the rest of the night, and I fell asleep on FaceTime with my husband. The next morning, I went straight home. I called the cops, and when they got there, they said there were no cameras, but there were double fist-sized holes in each of the areas where I explained the cameras were. Whoever was responsible for putting them there showed up before the police could, so they could destroy the evidence. The charges were dropped because I couldn't prove anything. I wish I would have taken pictures, but I was in too much of a panic, so I didn't really think of it until it was too late.